Thanks for stopping by. I'd like to preface this video by saying it is not a knitting tutorial, but a means to have something playing in the background while you work on your own knitting project. If you're like me and really enjoy YouTube, you find that a lot of the content you like to watch is very visually engaging, and you're several hours in and haven't gotten nearly as far in your knitting as you would have liked to. So my channel is a solution to that. And if you are new here, welcome. This video is part of my Knit Ahead for the Holiday series, in which I push myself to complete all of my holiday gifts in time for the December cutoff, which I have to have them mailed to their respective recipients. So, you may have noticed that the title is very similar to one before that I've shown you guys, and that is the Raylight Sock. And the pattern is by Tin Can Knits, and the pattern's also free to download on Ravelry. And I knit a pair. I'm ashamed to show you what they look like because one looks a lot different than the other, and I decided to keep them for myself. But this particular sock is going to be a gift for my partner, actually, and I'm speaking loud enough that they probably can hear me revealing this in the other room. But nevertheless, practice makes perfect, and I would like to keep working on this particular pattern until I have it down pat, because I have two other people that I plan on knitting this sock for, or at least a sock pattern in general, and I feel like if I get the hang of this one, I can make a really nice sock with this pattern. And it is a nice pattern, so why not give it a second try? So with this one, I am working with the Palette Yarn by Knit Picks, and if I remember the color exactly, I will link it in the description if you want to use this pattern too, or at least this color yarn. And it's a very nice kind of orangey brown color. The camera on my phone's not picking it up quite true to color, but it's very close. And if you follow me on Instagram at Paws and Pearls Offline, you'll see that one day, it was a Sunday, and I happened to post this very sock I've been working on, and it was only about here that I had progressed to. So today, you'll see that I've made quite a bit more progress, and it's not technically a deadline gift, but in preparation for a deadline gift, I'd like to make sure that I knit at least one more pair of this Raylight pattern, nearly perfected, if not perfect, by the time that I have a set together that I need to mail off. So I'm thinking the next time I knit this, it's going to be for my brother, and I'm going to have to kind of discreetly ask him or his fiance what his shoe size is, so I know the right measurement to follow in the pattern. But for the meantime, I know this is going to fit my partner very well, and they like socks, and it's a very nice kind of neutral color, so why not try again? And let's get started. So I actually need to knit until this is 7.5 inches long from the cast on edge, and the last time I checked, I think I have another inch left to go. And I have my trusty tape measure that I picked up at the yarn shop that was going out of business, that is now officially out of business. But I thought, why not grab this one, because it kind of matches the colors I have on it. I have like some floral pants on, and it kind of goes with my kind of pinky ruddy theme today. So let me pull this out and see how far I am along. And I mentioned that one of the next things that I really would like to buy is like a sock ruler where you just kind of stick it in, so I don't have to keep pulling this tape measure out like this. But we'll see. Oh yeah. So I've been trying to measure from the back so that I have the longest edge, since the garter stitch is a little deceiving. Alright, so I do have about half of an inch left to go before I need to reserve my heels, or my top stitches here, and work on the heel. So bear with me while I grab my other needle. And I want to mention that one of my coworkers who was kind of de-stashing her pattern books and her yarn, her daughter was cleaning out her room, and she found this cute little kitty pouch, and I thought it would be the cutest thing to put my portable stitch markers in. So like when I have my project bag on the go, I can store a few stitch markers in here, because why not have the kitty on display while I'm on the road. So I think I'll do that with some of the stitch markers that I got from the yarn haul, as well, or I keep calling it yarn haul, the yarn crawl, as well as the stitching convention that I went to. I got some cat themed stitch markers there, and I have another video that talks about all the cool stuff I got there. So for this, I'm just working in pattern until I get to the length I need. And where am I starting? Ooh, okay, yep, right spot. So this is like basically knit around, and then you work a garter stitch toward the front of the sock. And I want to mention that it is late. It's after 11 right now, p.m. And if you're following me on Instagram, I had just made a post about how late I stayed at work today. It's been a crazy week, to say the least, and I was training a new employee, so it's getting them up to speed, and with that, while I'm working with them, I fall a little behind on my regular work. So I've been coming in early before they come in to train, and I've been staying late after they leave just to catch up on things, because it's going to be really busy, and I have a whole wave of new people coming very soon. So to get things ready for them, I just have to focus on making sure all my projects are done, and that means putting in more hours than usual. And I'm sure I am not the only one out there who has to deal with stuff like this, but I found it particularly interesting that it's just a different vibe when I'm there by myself. Like, one, I can really get in the zone and focus on things without other people coming in, asking questions, emails coming in, phone ringing, and all that stuff. So it's really nice, actually, just to have a little bit of peace and quiet to just churn out a lot of work. Of course, I'm there, and it's dark, and it's funny because I was practically the first person in my department, and I was the last person out of the entire building today, and I was like, it's Friday, you know, like, I could be here knitting, and I'm glad I have a chance to do that now. So let me know in the comments if you have any really fun weekend plans ahead. I will try to be relaxing as much as I can because of the next few weeks where it'll be really busy at work. Also, it's book club time again, and we have relocated to a different spot because the space we usually use is being holding another event, so we won't be able to use it. So I have to like arrange another route to get to my book club on Sunday. But I've been to this place before, so it shouldn't be too hard to get to. But I haven't been there since I moved so far away, so that'll be an interesting adventure. But I have my color block cowl to work on while I'm on the road, so hopefully I'll keep myself occupied for the duration of the journey. And last Sunday I actually went into the city to visit a friend of mine, and I used to work with her, but we've since gone to different jobs and things like that, and it's always nice to just catch up. And I brought my color block cowl with me then, but I neglected to take a picture of the pattern book so that I could keep a track of where I was, and I got to a point where I thought I needed to change my yarn, and it turned out I didn't. So I got to the city, you know, just fine, knitting along, and then on the way back I had to stop because I was like, I think I was supposed to do something else with my other yarn, but I left it here, and it turned out that I could have just kept knitting with the same color, and now I am on that dusty rose color that you guys saw previously, so that's nice. So yeah, tomorrow my goal is to finish reading that book that I need to have done by Sunday, so that when I go to the club, I will have enough information to participate in the discussion. I was really on the fence about going because, one, it's a long journey to get to book club, and then I'll just be really tired when I get home because I've been working so many hours at my job this week. But at the same time, it's like a chance to kind of get away from everything and do something else with my time, kind of take my mind off of all the things that will be waiting for me on Monday, you know? So I think it'll be worth it, at least just to have that bit of social interaction with people, even if I'm not a fan of the readings. But I think at this point I'm going to miss the one in September, and I'm really bummed about that because usually things pick up then, and you know, because a lot of the times the summer ones are harder for everybody to go to because a lot of people are, you know, taking vacations and things like that, so we don't always have a full group with us. But in the fall and in the winter, it's easier for larger groups to show up because most people are back in the groove of the normal year. But we'll see. We'll see. And, oh yeah, I was going to share with you guys a story. It was kind of an interesting event on Tuesday at my job. One of my employees had taken their break and they were going to heat up their lunch really quick, and it was just, well, I'll just go ahead. I'm not very good at leading into these things, but they went to the restroom and their food was in the microwave, and they came back and they came to me immediately and they're like, my food is burning and I don't know why. And so I go over to the microwave and it was instant noodles, like a styrofoam cup of noodles. I call them cup of noodles, I don't know. And the whole thing was like, half of it was gone, the noodles were black, there was smoke everywhere. Like, thank goodness nothing caught on fire, but oh my gosh, I was gagging, like coughing so hard. Like, the burning styrofoam smell was the worst. I've never smelled anything that horrible before, like on fire like that. I mean, not on fire, but very much like about to catch on fire. And so I had to run around and find some fans, and we had like this big kind of industrial fan for this area that leaks a lot in my building, where we just kind of have it going all the time when there's heavy rains, just to kind of get some of the water out of the way. And so we had those going. I had to prop open these really heavy doors that are basically closed all the time, and to just get some airflow in there. And I also had to email the rest of the people who worked in my building to let them know, like, hey, you're probably going to smell something really burnt, and there's a reason for that. And one of my employees, you know, put their instant noodles in the microwave, and she's like, well, I always put them in for 3 minutes. And she had just stepped away for a second. She's like, I usually don't leave the unattended, but it was just 3 minutes. And I was like, looking at him, I'm like, well, did you add water? And she's like, oh. So, yeah, you know, it happens, but it was just so funny. Like, I wasn't mad or anything, of course, because it's like, it's an accident, it happens, but man, that smelled so bad. Like, I had the worst headache, and so I had to eat outside for lunch, and I actually posted that on Instagram too. I just, like, posted the picture of the bench I had eaten at outside, and thank goodness it was actually relatively nice weather. Like, wasn't too hot, it wasn't raining or anything like that, and it was pretty breezy day, which helped us because we had the doors propped open. But and today still, it was Tuesday when that happened, it's Friday today, and you can still kind of smell it. it smelled more like kind of burnt popcorn at that point. Um, Kind of weird campgroundy smell, but very faint compared to what it was like Wednesday after even airing it out for the rest of the day on Tuesday. Um, and then over by where the microwave is, it smells really bad too. So I don't know. We did the best we could. But everybody was coming in, and they're like, "What is that smell? Why are the doors open? What's going on?" And the employee who had done it, she was just like kind of like sinking into her chair because everybody was like, "What happened in here?" And I was just like, "Well, somebody put something in the microwave and they didn't do it the right way, and this is what happened." So they're like, "Who?" They really wanted to know, and they happen to know the people who I work with, so it was very funny because she was trying so hard not to get called out for it. And then she's really apologetic, and I mean it was just a funny happenstance, I guess. But has that ever happened at your job? Do you have like a communal microwave, and did somebody just like totally stink up the place by either cooking something that had a really strong aroma or burning something, or any weird office lounge mishaps at your place of employment? I'd like to hear a funny story to compare. But oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. I mean, that was literally like the first time that I worked there that happened while I was there. So, and it was so funny too because not too long ago, like maybe like 2 weeks ago or so, like a little bit before I was on vacation for a week, we had practice. Well, we didn't have practice fire drills, but the fire department came by and was testing our fire alarm systems, like the sprinklers and the siren things. So we were all on alert to just kind of know that they were testing and it wasn't a real drill. But then after they were testing, we did actually have a drill because in my building, again, somebody was using like a really high heat equipment, and they had fans blowing, but they were blowing the hot air toward the detector, so it set off the fire alarm again. And we were like, "Are they still testing?" So I called like the department that was kind of overseeing it. And they're like, "No, we aren't. Get out of the building because we don't know what's going on over there." So we're just like, "Oh, everybody out!" And oh my gosh, that was crazy too. I was glad I took a week off after that because I don't know, there was a lot going on over there. And now when I come back, my first week back, the second day, this happens with my employee stinking up the place with their burnt ramen cup. I was like, there's something in the air. What is that, like Mercury in retrograde or whatever they call it? It's probably something like that. I don't know. If you follow astrology, I just kind of joke, but something's going on, that's for sure. But yeah, so I was there late. I mean, all this crazy stuff happening this week, working late, coming home late. I didn't really get a chance to. I was lucky enough to knit at work a little bit. I've been working on a blanket, and I snapped a picture of that. And I actually posted a video very, very at the beginning of my YouTube career where I think it was like the second episode that I shot of the series here, where I started that blanket, or at least started showing you guys. And I hadn't really done much with it, and it dawned on me a few episodes ago that I really have a lot more work to do on it, so I just decided to bring it to work so I could work on it there, and hopefully I can make enough progress so that by the time October rolls around, when it's a little colder here, I can bring it back home and keep working on it. But at least at work there's AC, so it's easier for me to work on it there, even though I can only do like 2 rows at a time during my lunch break, because it's so long, you know. Um, maybe by then I'll be able to at least introduce a new color so I can finish it up, because I'm doing a dark gray part now, and then I have a light gray part coming up soon, and then it'll be ready. And I really, really, really want to make sure it's done this time, because it was supposed to be gift last Christmas, and I started late, and I stopped working on it, thought I could make it through. I was just a little bit in over my head with it, but now that I know that blankets take, I mean, they should take a long time. They're huge, but me thinking, oh, it's just a garter stitch here and a garter stitch there. Super easy, won't take that long, but the repetitive of it made me decide to kind of switch between other projects, and then it fell by the wayside. So, not this time. I'm picking it up again, now that it's, you know, almost the end of August. Well, it's like mid-August, almost the end of August. So, starting now is still earlier than when I started last year, so I should make pretty good progress at this point. And then I have another blanket to do for my former 4th grade teacher. I finally decided on a pattern that I'm going to do for her. And I figured a blanket would be nice because where she lives, it doesn't get super, super cold. So she wouldn't really need a scarf, but it would be nice to have just a blanket on her couch or something decorative to have that was made by me. So I'm working on this. I'm going to finish this row, or round, I guess, and then I'm going to take a measure again, since it's been like 2 or 3 rounds since we started talking, so we'll see how I'm going, and if I need to put those first few stitches on reserve and then start on the heel. Alright, we're almost there. Let's see. Okay, so now I'm done with that round. I'm going to measure the back here. So here's another close-up of what I've made so far. So cuff down here, and here we have our garter bit, and then it's just stockinette all the way up to the garter, and then stockinette again. So I'll flip it and take a measure. Okay, you know what? This is why I always say this isn't a tutorial, because I'm measuring it right now, and it's just at like 6 3/4. So I was starting at like the 1 here instead of at the very end of the tape measure when I was taking a measure of the end of the cuff, or the beginning of the cuff, and I was off. So we'll keep knitting. By the time you see me next, hopefully I'll have this whole sock done, but this is actually more of like my desk project, and by desk project I mean I leave it by my computer desk, and when I'm watching videos and just kind of dinking around or whatever, I'll knit this one because it's relatively repetitive. Like when you get to certain points, you just do the same thing over a few times before you get to a part where you have to change again. So it's pretty easy to knit and watch whatever at the same time without losing your place too much. At least for me, I found that it's easier, at least, you know, at this point. So it's a good watch a YouTube video or watch some Netflix or Hulu or what have you and do this pattern. And I imagine that doing what they call a vanilla sock, just a plain sock, would be even easier. And I'm really excited to try that. For some reason, I jumped into something with a pattern on it than just, or like a design or a little bit of texture than just a plain sock because it said it was easy. So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And then with my learning curve, it wasn't as easy as I thought the first time around. But now that this is the third sock I'm knitting in that pattern, I hope that I can say, yes, it is definitely an easy pattern when I'm done. But with the vanilla sock, there's actually a person that I started following on Instagram who just posted a video on their site about, what was it called? A picot? Fringy kind of cuff beginning, and it's so cute. And I'm like, well, that would be nice to do for a vanilla sock because it's a plain sock, but if you add a little bit of jazz to the cuff, then that makes it special. It makes it stand out a bit. And I was thinking it'd be really fun to do that kind of fringy cuff with this cotton yarn that I got during the yarn crawl. I don't know why. It seems a little flat over here. Maybe something squished it, but it's a little flat. But this one is a very nice cotton yarn, and it's not long enough to knit like a full mid-calf sock, but a couple little anklet socks would be really cute, and I think I know who I can make those for, so we'll see. That might be one of my next introductory videos of another project that I'll work on for the holidays. So, very excited. I have so much sock yarn now from, the yarn crawl, as well as going to the shop that went out of business and picking up some from their 50% off sale. It's like, how many more socks can I knit? And will I ever get tired of them? I mean, I'm just starting out, so I have all these ideas in my head of different patterns I want to use. But as far as, the repetitiveness of knitting socks, I don't know. But they're nice to have, and they're quick to knit, so I can see myself continuing to do that, like socks and socks and socks, like next year, thinking ahead for what I want to do for holidays then. I'm thinking socks right now because they're easy enough to get done, and they don't take a lot of yarn, and they're pretty portable, so if they would make for, being able to get through my deadlines really quickly, which is my goal so that I don't feel so rushed, and then I have more time to work on my own knitting projects, which is kind of like my quote, it seems. Your own knitting project, my own knitting project. But to have some stuff for myself, as most of everything I've knit is gifts, really. I have like one, well, besides the reject socks I knit earlier, I have those and another pair that I was trying out a sock pattern with, and a scarf. Yeah, that's about it as far as anything I can say I've made for myself, and some of that was accidental, so purposely making something for myself. I would like to do socks so I can get those out of the way and then work on cardigans, because I really like cardigans, and maybe some more socks and scarves. And I wanted to replace, I have some fingerless gloves that are like my favorite / like my only pair of gloves, and they have like a really big hole in the gusset for the thumb, and I bought them. They weren't handmade at all, and I wanted to make some for myself like those because I really liked that I could just pop the mitten part over if I just want to use my thumb on my phone or something like that instead of having my full hand exposed. So hopefully maybe by this winter I'll be able to work on that. So here we are, once again. We are close to the end, but I think that'll be it for this evening. So thank you so much for sticking with me through the end of the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.